Before I start my talk, I want everyone in the audience to please raise your hand. Now raise it even more. Why didn't you give it your 100% the first time? I don't blame you. This room does not require your 100%. However, had there been $1 million hanging down from the ceiling, you probably would have overstretched as if your life depended on it. The same person, in a different environment, shows different behavior. We always overcredit ourselves and undercredit the situation. We always tell a me story. My ambition, my personality, my discipline, where most of the times, the environment is playing a much bigger role than we think. So allow me to tell you a personal story on how environments I was in shaped who I was, what I knew, and who I now am. Let's go back to 2010. I was only 6. And that's when I got my first laptop. Everyone told my mom it was a really bad idea. Why give a 6-year-old a laptop? Why isn't he outside doing normal kid stuff? Why is it normal to give a laptop at 6? However, to my mom, the laptop wasn't something to fear, but rather an environment where curiosity and experimentation felt normal. 1 year later, I got my hands on an early version of Minecraft. And for those of you that don't know the game, you basically spawn in with no instructions. No one tells you what to do, how to do it. And once again, the perfect environment for curiosity and experimentation, behavioral traits I still carry with me today. After playing for a couple years, I wanted to understand more. And that's when I went on YouTube. In 2014, I was watching Minecraft videos daily. And that environment shaped something I didn't expect. I started preferring English over French, even though I was French educated. And after watching enough content creators put their content out to the world, I wanted to become one myself. At only 9 years old, I learned how to download video editing software, how to use it, and download Photoshop to design my own thumbnails. At only 9, I uploaded my YouTube videos. And for your sake, please don't look up my name on YouTube. Now, following the example of a lot of the YouTubers that I saw, I had to download other social media platforms. In 2016, I downloaded Twitter. Initially, my feed was full of Minecraft, but somehow, in 2017, I landed on Bitcoin. Bitcoin at 13. I had no idea what it was, why it was useful, nor how it worked. However, I was in environments where curiosity and experimentation were normal, so I started doing more research. The algorithm picked up on my research, and suddenly, all my social media was about was investment, financial market, and money at only 13. Eventually, at 14, I enrolled in an MBA finance class on Coursera. I became a finance person at 14, and for reference, I'm graduating from the American University of Beirut in 2 weeks with a finance degree. And I don't think that's a coincidence. Now, we all remember what happened in 2020, COVID. But also, the stock market crashed. I knew I had to invest, but as a 16-year-old, I didn't have many savings. So I knew I had to work and make my own money. But what work exactly could a 16-year-old do? Well, remember 2014 when I learned video editing and graphic design because of the environments I was in? That's what I decided to leverage. I started freelancing video editing as well as graphic design at that age. I outreached to over 300 people. And after talking to so many people on Twitter, I found one common pattern. All of them had their own brand. All of them had their own product. And eventually, after being surrounded with founders and brand owners, I wanted to become one too. In 2022, I established my own digital agency. But I knew I wasn't the best at video editing, nor graphic design, nor web development. So I had to hire professionals. And my role became clear. I had to secure deals. And what that entailed is talking to clients, understanding their needs, brainstorming what solution could be offered, whether a website, new branding, or else, and guide them towards better decisions. All of a sudden, I was doing consulting without knowing exactly what it was. And after joining the American University of Beirut in 2022, I naturally gravitated towards consulting as a field, and I'll be joining BCG in September in their Dubai office. Now, looking at it retrospectively, all of the environments that I was in shaped who I was as a person, what I knew, and what I was exposed to. Every environment determined what I saw on a daily basis. The content I consumed, the people I was around, the conversations I was a part of, the problems I was exposed to. All of them were shaping who I was as a person without asking for my permission. On Twitter, all the conversations around me were about money, investment, and finally, that shaped me into someone that likes finance. When I was outreaching to a lot of brand owners and being surrounded by them, I wanted to become one myself. As a brand owner and having the agency, I naturally started doing consulting because I had to, but that eventually shaped me into who I am today. But now, let's pause my story. Let me hand it on to you. What are you good at? What are you comfortable with? Who are you now? And what do you know? The same mechanism that is happening in my life is happening in yours too. If you think about your life retrospectively, you probably will be able to find environments that shaped who you are, what you're comfortable with, who you know, and what you know. But here's the twist. As a kid, you don't have much control over which environments you're in. Sometimes, your parents choose them for you. Other times, your friends drag you. And other times, you're lucky. But today, you have a responsibility you didn't have back then. To choose your environments intentionally. Place yourselves in the ones that shape who you want to become. So if you want change, if you want growth, it shouldn't start by being harsh on yourself, but rather asking a different question. What environment shapes the person that I want to become? The first time I actually had to answer that question was right out of high school. I narrowed down my college studies down to two options: Dauphine, a university in Paris, and the American University of Beirut. And if you look at it on paper, it's an easy pick. Dauphine had better international reputation, better rankings, and a stronger program. But instead of taking the decisions purely on those metrics, I took a step back and thought about who I'd become inside each of those environments. At Dauphine, all I could imagine is a rigid academic structure, long times in the metro, and all of the hassle coming with living alone. However, at AUB, I found an environment where I could structure my courses in a way that allowed me to work on other hobbies, my agency, and build more interests, as well as connect with locals and people that match my culture to make friends that I now call family. In other words, I chose the environment that shapes the person that I want to become. So now if we take a step back and start with the experiment that we started with. When I asked you to raise your hand, most of you didn't go all the way, not because you lack discipline, not because you lack ambition, but because the environment didn't require it. We spend a lot of time asking, what's wrong with me? Why am I not more disciplined? Why am I not more motivated? Why am I not practicing things more consistently? Maybe the question was never about you. Maybe the question was about where you're practicing. Because you can't expect your best self to show up in an environment where only your average self is rewarded. Everything from the content you consume to the people you meet, the conversations you're a part of, and the problems you're exposed to are quietly shaping who you are as a person. As a kid, you don't choose your first environments, but today, you have the responsibility to actively control those factors. Every environment that you're entering and placing yourself into, you're choosing. Every environment that you're not leaving, you're also choosing. And every time I face that choice, I ask myself, what environment shapes the person that I want to become? And I keep coming back to that question. And it's also the question I'm leaving you here with today. Before I go, allow me to ask you, what environment shapes the person that you want to become? Thank you.